Hey, Anthony Fantano here, internet's busiest music nerd. Hope you're doing well. And it's time for another installment of our weekly track roundup. Where I go over what I felt were the best and the worst tracks of the week, guys. You know it, you watch it, you expect it, you get recommendations out of it. Let's go. Of course, I have to mention that we have a sponsor in this video, the good people over at SeatGeek. If you aren't aware, SeatGeek is a wonderful app that aggregates tickets to live events from all over the web to make ticket buying simple. They put a 1 to 100 score on each ticket to let you know if you're getting a good deal or a bad one. Green is good, red is bad. The in-app view from Seat lets you know where you're going to sit. And if you hit up the app, you look up a concert you want to go to, enter code DROP at checkout to get $20 off your first order. That is code DROP. Information is down there via the link in the description box. Thank you again to the good people over at SeatGeek. All right, it's time for the weekly track roundup, guys. No more BSing. You already know down there we got our Amazon Associates link and our Turntable Lab link. If you hit up those links, buy yourself some anything, holiday season, presents for other people, presents for yourself. We get kickback from it. Does not add to your overall price. And here are the worst tracks. Man, that was a fast shill intro. That was a fast shill intro. We're getting right into it. Right into the worst tracks. You know, I typically take my time because I don't want to go into the worst tracks too fast because they are the worst tracks, but Jesus Christ, here we go. New Russ track, Lean on You. I just do not get where this guy gets the gall to hype himself up, because this is just really bland, croony pop rap with a forgettable instrumental, forgettable vocals. The guy has barely any vocal chops, no personality to his voice. The lyrics are bland. The instrumental is just wallpaper music. Like, what is so interesting about this? Why is this so hype? Why are people like dying for this? It's so uninteresting. I would rather just listen to a fountain just trickle water. It's literally about as interesting as that. The fountain is more interesting. The fountain is more interesting. This is drab. This is really drab. Moving on from there. Got to shout out one track, maybe in my opinion, the worst track on this new Quality Control compilation. There are actually quite a few dope songs on this compilation. I will be talking about it very soon in depth, but this song, She for Keeps, with Nicki Minaj and Quavo, is like one of the worst like croony rap love songs that I've heard in a while. One of these terrible sort of like auto croon tunes. It's very mellow. It's very trashy. It's very vomit inducing. It's probably the corniest song on the entire tape. But hey, you know, if you listen to this thing and if you avoid just this track, you're doing yourself a big favor, and you're going to enjoy the project a lot more. I promise you that. Moving on from there, new G-Eazy song, Sober. It's G-Eazy. It's annoying. It's not quite as gross as this track over here, but it's pretty gross. It's pretty boring. It's pretty average. And finally, oh God. This new Eminem track over here, Untouchable. This is a perfect example of what seems like good intentions going into a song, but like terrible delivery, terrible execution. It just seems like Eminem thinks the audience that he wants to relay this message to is really stupid. And as a result, the song and the very worthwhile message comes off very like insulting and snide. And I get that the topic at hand here is a very important topic and one that's worth getting mad over. But I feel like because of Eminem's tone of the song and because of how just annoying the song and Eminem's flow and delivery are on this track, it's just going to fall on deaf ears. But hey, what do I know? I'm not a hardcore Eminem fan, so like this song probably was never going to aesthetically appeal to me in the first place. But it's just really hideous. It's just a really hideous song to listen to. I wish Eminem would just light a fire under his ass like he did on Marshall Mathers LP2, but I just fear that he's never going to do that again. And that record is really just going to go down as a fluke. But that's going to be it for the worst tracks. Let's move into the tracks that I thought were kind of meh. Certainly worth shouting out, certainly worth some attention, but I wasn't crazy about them personally. Excuse me. Your Old Droog has a new single out via the Adult Swim singles collection. They're doing 52 weeks this year, which is pretty crazy. I haven't talked about every single one, but do go to the link down there in the description. Check them out every week. Brand new song. You the Type, Your Old Droog. Of course, this has kind of a hardcore, very laid back, somewhat jazzy East Coast hip hop, 90s flavor to it. That's just Droog's style. But of course, with this track, like many others, he comes through with a really sharp and funny and clever lyrical topic and concept. So this song is one of his more fun ones that I've heard in a while. So shout out to him for that. Moving on from there, this new track with Trippie Redd featuring Travis Scott, Dark Knight Dummo, it's a pretty decent song. It's one of the more high gloss and heavy that I've heard from Trippie Redd so far, who, he's kind of inconsistent, but I do have faith in him. I do have faith that he can come through with like a solid project. I do think he has a unique voice and a unique approach to a lot of this auto-croon stuff. And I do think he holds his own with Travis Scott on this track. So it is pretty gargantuan. It is very much in that lavish, very heavily auto-tuned, very spacey, very moody, but very heavy Travis Scott instrumental style. And I think Trippie Redd takes to that sound pretty well. Moving on from there, Mr. Hudson with Vic Mensa on this track. A funny little kind of poppy / rappy song about like listening to Coldplay. I can't say I was crazy about it. The chemistry wasn't really there for me personally, but I thought the concept was interesting, and it certainly was intriguing to hear Vic Mensa team up with Mr. Hudson on a track. Also interesting to hear Vic Mensa team up with Christian Scott, aTunde Adjuah, on Freedom is a Word, which is actually a pretty nice little piece of very explorative, jazzy rap music. Of course, there are a few points lyrically and emotionally where Vic Mensa takes it a little too far, and it's kind of hard to take totally seriously, but it's actually a very nice performance and, a very nice fusion of worlds, and some of the trumpet playing on the track is incredible, so do not miss out on that. And finally, I want to mention in this section, this new Charli XCX song, Out of My Head, which is one of those Charli XCX tracks that unfortunately is just super duper average. It's not one of her more quirky and off the beaten path and kind of eclectic takes on pop music. This is really kind of one of those singles where she's trying to appeal to the largest fan base possible, and it kind of stinks because it is a very plain song. It is a very plain production. The vocals aren't really kind of that same sassy, bratty, very colorful and in tone and personality that I typically enjoy from Charli XCX. Seems a little reserved for her, hoping that she takes it a little bolder on her next single, though this one isn't. It's not terrible. It's certainly listenable. Let's move on to the tracks that I thought were awesome this week. The tracks that really blew me away. Tracks that I really kind of was loving. Number one, my boy Ty Segall has a new album coming out soon in 2018, and he has a few tracks out from it so far, but this one over here in particular stood out to me. Everyone's a Winner. It's got kind of a weird, quirky, lo-fi, glam rock kind of vibe to it. The guitars on it are really funny and playful, very tongue-in-cheek. It's easily one of his silliest and yet most hard rockin' singles I've heard him drop in a while. Liking that between what I'm hearing here and some of the recent singles he's come out with and his last album, which has been one of my favorites of his in years, that Ty is getting a little bit more fringe and odd and silly with his music. It seems like there's a real sense of humor there, but the experimentation and some of the songwriting that he's pulling off is very seriously good. So really enjoying that Ty is having at least what seems to me a little bit more fun with his music as of late. Next, got to give a shout out to TuneYards ABC 123, which is now my favorite single from this current album cycle. Kind of brings back that same quirky, funky, danceable sound, though it doesn't come off quite as international as it has in the past. The vocals aren't quite as yelpy either, but you do have some strong political themes coming through in the lyrics, so I'm actually pretty pleased about that. It's a catchy song. It's a sharp song. It's a thoughtful song. So looking forward to sort of seeing what sounds like TuneYards going in a slightly more mature direction this time around. And just kind of finding out what the result of that is on this forthcoming album. Next, Sufjan Stevens drops a song about Tonya Harding out of the blue at around the same time that you have this huge press push for this forthcoming movie about Tonya Harding, which is kind of like a dark comedy. And I'm in Sufjan's spiel about the song, he didn't mention anything about the movie. I'm sort of wondering if he wrote this inspired by the movie, if he wrote this, is there some kind of connection between him and the movie? Is it going to be on the soundtrack or something? Or like, did he just put out this song because he had it laying around or something? And it was around the time that the movie was going to be released, so maybe it would have created some cross traffic. I don't really know what his reasoning for writing or releasing the song was. All I know is that I like it. It reminds me of, some of his Illinois era stuff, where, you have him writing these very beautiful, intimate little songs about certain figures in history or places that are very compelling. And especially this version of the track, because there are two versions linked on Bandcamp. This version is in E-flat major, and it's just pretty much Sufjan and piano. The other version in D major is very washed out, very spacey, very dreamy. It's very heavy, not quite as intimate, in my opinion, though still a nice song. But I do like the more intimate piano-based version, the more acoustic version better. A very beautiful tune. Next, Sophie has dropped a new track. She is killing it with this new material. Like 2018. It's Sophie's year. Like this track, it's such a banger. And it's crazy. It's like Sophie has always been one of the most insane producers and sound curators on PC music. And this song just like confirms it. This is one of the most insane things that I've heard on the label. And it seems like they just get crazier every year. This is one of the most insane things, if not the most insane thing I've heard on the label. And I just listened to that new Girlfriend of the Year or GFOTY album, which in a quickie review that I did, I said that was easily one of the most eclectic, insane things that I've heard on the label, if not the most. And now this just totally blew that out of the water. Like it's such a dirty, filthy, sexy, hedonistic, but experimental and loud and blaring and just like gut punching track. The beat is amazing. The noise is incredible. The lyrics are like really dark and disturbing and odd. If you're a bit of a fetishist, someone who likes to be dominated, you probably get quite a bit out of it. I'm just going to leave it at that. Love the track. And I'm just so friggin' hype. Nicolas Jarre. My dude Nicolas Jarre dropped a couple of new tracks. The one that stood out to me the most is Wildflowers. Kind of reminds me a bit of his Dark Side project that he had not too long ago. The vocals are quite nice. The instrumental's quite nice. Of course, he's dropping very spacey, strange electronic music. Not quite the micro house that he rode in on when he broke through in the scene not too long ago. But still very very subtle, very beautiful, very intriguing. And hopefully he drops a new album soon, because a new Nicolas Jarre album would be quite nice. Quite nice. And finally, got to give a shout out to JPEGMAFIA, who has a new track out titled Baby I'm Bleeding. And while in the past I felt that this guy's approach to industrial hip-hop was maybe a little run-of-the-mill, a little forgettable, this is easily one of the best singles that I've heard out of this project thus far. Really hard-hitting beat, great flow, good energy, some interesting lyrics as well, very political and edgy and revolutionary, which has been sort of par of the course for the project thus far. But still, it seems like the production value and the delivery has kind of been up to notch, and I'm really liking that. So that is everything that I wanted to recommend to you guys. Remember, it's all down there in the description box. All of it is down there in the description box. All of these tracks, all of these songs. Check them out. Give them some time. And also our Amazon and Turntable Lab links. And again, shout out to the good people over at SeatGeek for supporting this segment. All right, guys. You're the best. I'm almost over my my congestion thing, I swear. All right. I love you, love you, love you. Forever. Forever.